For a long time, people have asked me to do a video on Brainscan. It's a movie from 1994 with Edward Furlong where he starts playing this hypnotic video game where he murders people. I had never seen this movie before, and I had no idea if there would even be enough for me to talk about to make an episode dedicated to it, but after watching it, I am happy to oblige your request. Hey guys, welcome back to the show, and on this episode, I'm going to be talking about Brainscan. And like I said, I had never heard of this movie before, which was pretty surprising to me considering that I grew up in the 90s, and I mean back then I was in the video store all the time. I was even more surprised to find that there are a lot of people online who are big fans of this movie and feel that it's very underrated. The thing I found most enjoyable about Brainscan is that it felt like a trip down memory lane, kind of like a 1990s time capsule. I remember when I was a kid, for some reason it always felt like I was watching movies where the main character had a bedroom filled with all this really cool stuff in it that I could only dream of having. And that's the case with this movie. Mike's room has everything: a microwave, a fridge, a TV, a computer with a digital assistant, a tube containing some kind of bubbling liquid. It's all here. I wanted all of this stuff. Mike's best friend Kyle tells him about this new video game he sees advertised in a magazine that you order through the mail. And it just goes to show how ahead of its time this movie was. I mean, digital assistants before Siri, mail order games before GameFly. And check out that gaming chair. I mean, is it as technologically advanced as the Video Gear Command Center? No, but nothing is. Mike also likes to watch and record his neighbor, Kimberly, get undressed, but it looks like she kind of knows about it, so I don't know what's going on here. It's kind of weird. Anyways, Mike calls the Brainscan hotline because he's skeptical. He's played every game. So what makes Brainscan so special? He's kind of a game snob like that. And you know, Mike, maybe you should just be thankful that you have all these games to play. In 1994, you know what I had? I had an NES and this. Snoopy's Silly Sports Spectacular. It's not very good. It's actually really shitty. How it managed to get the official Nintendo seal of quality, I have no idea, but it's what I had. And I was grateful. Anyways, they tell him that Brainscan is more than just a game. It interfaces with your subconscious, and then suddenly they zap him or something. Not exactly sure how that's even possible, but whatever. So Mike is like, holy crap, anything that can give me an unexpected seizure has got to be the future of gaming. Send it to me now. I don't care what it costs. Mike is part of the horror club at his school. Basically, it's a club that gets together at school to watch horror movies and discuss the educational value, I'm assuming. Which may seem kind of weird, but I was part of a club like this in high school. I mean, it wasn't so much of a club as it was just me skipping class, leaving school, and going to the movie theater. But I was in it. It was just me. And what was funny is that my school would give me detention for that, you know, skipping class. But I found this loophole where I would just not go to detention, and nothing ever happened. I faced zero consequences. And eventually I graduated, and in the end, my obsession with movies became my job, so it all worked out. But I'm not advising you to skip school. Don't do that. Because like I just said, I eventually graduated because yeah, it took some time. I had to make up credits for all those classes I was skipping. So the principal is not a fan of this horror club and wants Mike to explain why he likes these movies. And Mike tries to tell him that it's like an escape for him.
Like lighting up a marijuana cigarette and escaping the real world, Like watching a pornographic sex film, getting an erection and raping someone? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's not really an escape. That's more just like a crime. How many exits are in this room? I could probably fit through that window too if I needed to. If I was to start yelling, people outside could probably hear me, right? So Mike gets home and it's time to play Brainscan, which means putting in the CD-ROM and watching it on TV because the game hypnotizes you through the television. The game tells him that he'll have to murder someone in the game and that he only has a certain time limit to complete the murder, and I bet you can predict what's going to happen. So he goes over to this house, walks right in and, I'm sorry, but I thought this game was supposed to be realistic. Would you hang up a knife like this in your kitchen? Just seems like an accident just waiting to happen. Anyways, he takes the knife, goes upstairs, kills this guy, and then cuts off his foot to keep as a souvenir or something. Mike then wakes up with 10 minutes to spare. You might be wondering what would have happened if he failed to complete the murder within the time limit. Well, the game said he wouldn't be able to play the other discs, so I guess the game would be over. Anyways, Mike is pretty exhausted from that murder, which totally didn't happen in real life, so he quenches his thirst by attempting to drink milk. I mean, great going, Mike. You're gonna have to wash that shirt now. You might think that it's weird that they went with milk and chicken for the food for this scene. Well, remember, it was 30 years ago. There wasn't a stereotypical gaming food and drink yet. Gamers were still trying to figure that out. So, you know, milk and chicken back then were like what Mountain Dew and Doritos are today. So Mike goes over to Kim's house because he wants to talk to her, and I have to say Kim's parents are kind of rude. I mean, yeah, the kid's kind of a creep, but offer him a glass of water or something.
He came to see Kim.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's fine. Just continue on as if I'm not even here. Like, I don't even exist. I'll just stand here awkwardly. That will be fun for all of us. Hey, that's weird. Last night, I played a video game where I murdered someone in a house exactly like that. And you know what's even weirder? Is that the guy hung his chef's knife up from the pot rack in the middle of the kitchen at eye level. I mean, who does that? Seriously, that murder scene is identical. I mean, what are the chances of that? Now, where is that daughter of yours?
Late this afternoon, the body of 42-year-old.
It's taking her a long time. I want to do stuff to her. I mean, do stuff with her. Not do stuff to her. Do stuff with her. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, Mike is really freaked out about the whole I may have committed an actual murder thing. So he goes home because he's got to be sure. So he opens his fridge and exactly. I'm just as confused as you are. Because Michael's phone number starts with area code 717, which would be Pennsylvania, but his address says New Jersey. But the food in his freezer has both English and French on the packaging, which means that food is from Canada. So are we to believe that he drives all the way to Canada to get his groceries? I mean, I can only suspend my disbelief so much. Seriously though, the movie was actually shot in Montreal, which would explain that. Anyways, this is when Mike is introduced to the Trickster, who looks like a demonic 1980s pop star. At this point, it kind of reminded me of this movie I watched when I was a kid called Little Monsters, where there's a monster character who acts like a guide for the main character. So Trickster tells Mike that there's a witness to the murder who needs to be eliminated. He just has to play the second disc. And Mike is in complete disbelief that there was a witness. Even more so than at the fact that some kind of supernatural being just emerged from the television. That was easy to accept. So Mike buries the foot, burns his clothes, and then Kyle comes over and he's like, dude, did you hear about the murder? Pretty cool. Anyways, can I borrow Brainscan? And Mike is like, get the hell out of here. I'm destroying evidence. I mean, I got mono. So, yeah, we can't make out. Bye. Then Kimberly comes over, and it turns out she brought him his mail, she went to all his teachers and got his homework, she brings him a copy of the school paper because she took some pictures for it. I mean, look at all the stuff this girl does for you, Mike. She's clearly interested in you. So just ask her to hang out or something. Why is that so hard? I know you just murdered someone by accident, but mistakes happen, so get over it and show the girl next door a little appreciation.
Thanks for stopping by.
Okay, I mean, I guess that's something. But come on, your computer has more personality than that. So Mike has to play the next disc to get rid of the witness. He wakes up from the game, checks the freezer, and oh my god, it's Kyle's necklace. I guess Kyle was the witness, which makes total sense, seeing that when Kyle came over earlier, he wasn't acting strange at all, and was even pretty interested at the fact that there was a murder in the neighborhood. You know, behavior you would expect from someone who apparently witnessed their friend killing someone. So there's an investigation, of course, and a few days later, Mike plays the game so that he can go to Kyle's house and get rid of the clue he left behind, which was his footprints. But there's also a neighborhood watch group that's going around, so Mike has to evade them, and at one point he hides in these plants, and this cop stands right in front of him but can't find him, which you might think is ridiculous, but keep in mind this was 1994, and video game stealth mechanics weren't that refined, so I would say this tracks. At one point, Mike is trying to get back home when suddenly the principal grabs him. And honestly, if I were Mike, just based on the scene from the beginning of the movie, I would be more worried about being caught by him than the actual police. But then a bunch of bricks fall on top of him, and Mike is like, okay, this is one death I don't feel bad about. Anyways, he eventually gets back home, and Kimberly is out on her balcony asking him if everything is okay, but of course he just says nothing. And the trickster is like, she's a witness, Mike. You gotta kill her too, which is pretty dumb. I mean, she just saw him walking through his backyard. That doesn't prove anything. There's many different reasons why a teenage boy would be out in the backyard at night. I did it all the time. You know, get some fresh air, or look at the stars, or lie in the grass. Mostly it was just to get high, but still, you know, I was out there and not murdering. So after thinking about it for a day or so, he's like, yeah, you know what? Okay, I'll do it. I'll kill her. It's game time. But then Trickster explains that they're the same person, and this is just weird. They somehow combine into one person, but then they split back into two people, and then the detective shows up and shoots him. And here's the big reveal. It was all the game. None of it actually happened. Look, his milk and chicken are still there. And Kyle is still alive, and Kimberly is having a party. So here's his big chance. Michael finds Kimberly and pops the big question.
Please, will you go out with me?
I don't think so. I mean, I'll think about it. It's not really a good time to ask, you know what I mean?
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yes. But
Maybe, right?
Okay, well, I guess maybe is better than no, but I mean, quite honestly, it seems like she's leaning towards no, and this is kind of a let him down easy type move. But then she gives him a kiss, so I don't know what to think. And then Mike finds a bunch of pictures of him, so it turns out they've been creeping on each other the whole time. How sweet. His method was just more perverted. Now, when it comes to movies, I don't like a wishy-washy type conclusion, but this movie seems to love that. Because not only was the scene with Kimberly kind of ambiguous, but at the very end, Michael goes to see the principal and the trickster is sitting there. And then there's another scene mid-credits where a dog brings the severed foot that Michael buried at the beginning to his house. So in my last video, I talked about how much I hate the "it was all a dream" ending. Well, I think this might actually be worse. Because not only did we get a "it was all a dream" ending, but then we get a "maybe the dream isn't over" ending. So I can only conclude that the game either hasn't ended, and this is all part of the game, or the game has ended, but some of the stuff that happened in the game was actually real, but not all of it. I think that this movie had an interesting concept, but I'm not really a fan of the execution of it. I also feel like there are some things that could have been used to up the stakes. For example, throughout this movie, we're told that each murder mission has a time limit, which subsequently gets shorter as the game goes on. Now, I've mentioned this before, but I'm a big fan of that plot device, the ticking clock, but the only thing is, you have to use it. Trickster says that if he doesn't complete the mission within the time frame, that the game is over. Okay, but what does that mean? What happens then? Does something really bad happen? Does nothing happen? Does he die? Who knows? It just seems like a completely unutilized, suspenseful element. Also, I just wanted to note, this movie came out about a year after Aerosmith released the album Get a Grip, and the movie makes sure you don't forget it. From the posters being in the room of every character to the fact that the trickster looks like a healthier version of Steven Tyler, Aerosmith is all over this movie. Now, the screenwriter originally wrote this script in 1987, and it was about a VHS tape. But once the script was acquired by the movie's producer, it was then changed to be about a video game, since virtual reality was a popular topic at the time. And you can kind of see some evidence of that, because yeah, you changed the physical media from a VHS tape to a CD-ROM, but you didn't add in anything to actually show how the player interacts with the game. And this is one of my biggest problems with this movie. Brainscan says that it interfaces with your subconscious. Okay, but how? I want to see some kind of visual representation of that. When you look at a movie like The Lawnmower Man, which actually came out a couple years before Brainscan, throughout the movie, there's all this virtual reality equipment that they use. This technology is the bridge between the person and the virtual world. It's how they interact with it. But this movie really doesn't have anything like that. He just puts in the CD-ROM and dials a phone number. We don't see how the game knows what choices he's making. I want to thank all of my supporters on Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, and my YouTube channel members. I want to thank all of you for tuning in, but that's pretty much it for this one, and I'll see you all next time. But you know what's really weird is the principal talking to me about erections in his office. That's strange, right? Kind of thinking that I should report it to someone, but yeah. I'll figure it out. Yeah, don't worry about me. So are you guys gonna invite me to stay for dinner or what? Pretty hungry. My mom died and my dad pretty much abandoned me, so... Does my dad have to be dead for me to be an orphan? Like, do both of my parents have to be fully... Or can I just be, like, abandoned and be an orphan? Because at this point I feel like I'm pre-orphaned. And this was actually pretty nostalgic for me because, believe it or not, I was really into Aerosmith at that time. And I also had all these hand-me-down clothes from my older cousins. So I was going to school at 9 years old wearing like a Soundgarden t-shirt, listening to an Aerosmith cassette. You know, I thought it was all really cool, but the kids my age did not. Yeah, I just never really fit in with my peers. And that's like the story of my life. I have two different types of recurring nightmares as an adult, and I swear I'm not making this up. Missing, you know, tests and exams and classes and forgetting to hand in projects at high school. And the others are about forgetting to return videotapes to Blockbuster. I'm not joking.